I think one way that you could look at it is this thing called the prohibition paradox, that you have on one scale an approach from fully commercialised, legalised, free market approach to drugs, whatever they are, right through to the opposite end of the hardcore war on drugs, super tough, crazy, full-on approach. So there's a continuum there from fully liberalised to totally freaking out. And then you have another continuum, which is the level of harm, from very low harm right through to big harms to society, economy, individuals, the health and so on of people. And then what you can see with alcohol is that with a fully commercialised model, you can actually have high harms. You've got a product that's hugely available, and we know all the problems that it causes people in terms of their own drinking problems, health effects, the effects on their families, the wider effects in terms of violence and crime and so on. So that's a highly legalised, commercialised and high harm. Then on the other end, with our approach to drugs, we have the tough approach, crack down on this and that. And that approach has its own degree of harm. People losing their jobs, being locked up in prison, their health issues aren't being dealt with, and so there's a high level of harm. And somewhere along that continuum, you can have a model which isn't fully commercialised and isn't fully prohibition with all of the things that come with that. There's a perfect, I don't know where this tipping point is, but there is a point where you have a useful regulation where people are getting good information about the drug. It's not freely available. There are good controls around it, a balanced controls, and what you see from that is a lower harm where there's low impact on the person in terms of their drug use, but there's also a low impact on society. We're not locking up a whole lot of people and so on. So we need to find that tipping point. What is that perfect model where you have a good balanced approach where you address the harms from the drugs, but also the harms from the drug framework? One of the fundamental tenets of our current drug law and of the international frameworks is that we can stamp out drug use. And they have bold visions of a drug-free world and so on. There's nothing wrong with that vision, I don't think. But that clouds our response. And I think we need to be a little bit more pragmatic and a lot more humane about this, and accept that to some extent as part of the human condition. But there's also the fact that we create these markets around it, whether it's legal or not, that there is this whole thing that exists around it, people's livelihoods and so on. So all of that exists to create the drug market and the drug supply and the drug demand. And we need to accept, I think we need to grow up and accept that to some degree is always going to exist. So part of it is how we manage that problem, part of it is how we stop people using in the first place, part of it is helping people out when they've got problems.